Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. So Alpha 3.14 brings with it some pretty monumental changes to ship combat, so today I'd like to talk further about what those changes are going to be. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and if you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So I was recently linked a leaked post regarding these upcoming balance changes to ships, thrusters, shields, weapons and combat in general. Due to the introduction of power management, which is also known as capacitor gameplay, this post highlighted CIG's intentions for where they are taking things in regards to combat in the verse. Now this includes shields of varying sizes, balancing weapons to make them all more meaningful, and defining each ship type to be used in the way that they were intended to, which is where I'm going to start this video off. So there are many changes to ship behaviours, and CIG's design goals for 3.14's ship and thruster tunings are as followed. Tune each ship towards the role it should fulfill, which has been specified now, and I will get to that next. Do not have a best ship for everything. G-force numbers should make sense based on the fighter class, and also they should reflect what humans can roughly endure in real life. Boost, formerly known as Afterburner, should give you only a short time advantage, and players must make conscious choices to employ it. Boost regen rate is dictated by the power triangle. They want to avoid nose-to-nose combat, make ships different enough to allow for varied combat geometry, and discourage things like pip wiggling and other movement scripts. So some pretty solid statements there that CIG are trying to adhere to when it comes to ships and combat. Now they go on to say, we are now trying to tune the ships towards their intended role. That means tuning the ships so they fit within an expected performance envelope for the things they were designed to do, while having clear pros and cons. They have also highlighted the intentions and directions for things like interceptors, light fighters, medium fighters and heavy fighters, and starting with light fighters like the Gladius or the Arrow, these are supposed to excel at 1v1 dogfights or swarm tactics. They have low durability, but they have the highest agility, excelling at lateral acceleration and have high rotation rates, and boost mostly affects lateral acceleration. So basically they are nimble and quick and intended for dogfighting against other ships or banding together to overwhelm larger targets, but also very capable at side strafing, which is what lateral acceleration is referring to. Now for interceptors or interdictors like the 325A from Origin or the Saber Raven, these excel in forward acceleration. Again, low durability, but they can often carry specialized equipment like EMPs, quantum snares or distortion weapons. They have the highest forward acceleration, but otherwise average agility, and the boost affects mostly this forward acceleration. So distinctively different to light fighters, serving a role in which they will be most useful. So very fast to get to top speeds and able to employ more specialized weaponry. For medium fighters like the Hornet F7CM and the Cutlass Black, these ships excel at having high loadout flexibility due to more hardpoints and equipment choices, so very versatile in what they can use. They have average agility and average durability, and boost affects all axes equally. So they are far less nimble than light fighters, they are slower and heavier, but capable of hitting harder and taking more of a beating, while also allowing for a good range of customizable weaponry. Now heavy fighters like the Hurricane, the Vanguard or the F8, these ships excel at prolonged combat and multiple target engagements. They are also the only fighters in their class allowed to equip manned turrets, size 2 shields and heavy weaponry. However, they do have poor agility, and boost affects all of the axes equally. So again, increasing their loadout options with the inclusion of a turret, which for 3.14 are supposed to hit heavier, having larger shields and designed to fight for longer periods of time compared to their smaller counterparts. So some other points CIG made regarding ships. Most ships have been updated in terms of how much HP they have on their hull and some of their items. Certain elements like wings are more sturdy and won't fall off as easily, and ship parts that carry items like the Vanguard's engine nacelles are also much sturdier. So very happy to hear that things won't just be falling off all over the place. Now for boost, this was reworked to offer only short-term advantages and discourage constant use. So here are a few things that CIG has done to create this. The amount of boost available is dictated by the thruster capacitor charge. Heat should not be the short-term limitation of boost anymore. Boost needs a minimum capacity charge to be engaged, and engaging it is not going to be instant, as it needs time to spool up for a very short time before it is actually engaged. Boost does not just affect linear axes either, they also affect rotational acceleration, so great for bigger ships. Boost does have a minimal cost when employed and a regeneration delay after use, and the space brakes don't automatically enable boost anymore, but this can be changed in the options. So boost sounds like it will provide an actual useful element while in combat to be used effectively to get better angles or maybe to break off from an engagement and escape. So let's take a quick look at the shield changes. The design goals for shields are that they want faster regenerating shields on fighters. Smaller ships need to grind through bigger ships very slowly, they say. They want players to feel more in control of what their shields are doing, and shield regen rates are dictated by the power triangle. Now the brief for shields are: changes to shields are not very extensive for the initial release, but they have removed a couple of non-player facing delays and tried to split the generator sizes for certain ship classes. So for sizes 0 and 4, there are no changes at all. For ship sizes 1, it has a high regeneration HP ratio, low HP overall, and typically used on small fighters and transporters, like the Gladius for example, and they are bubble shields only. For size 2, these have normal regeneration HP ratios, about 4 times more HP compared to a size 1 shield, and typically used on heavy fighters and larger ships like the Freelancers or the Vanguards. Again, bubble shields only though. Now for size 3, these have 10 times more HP compared to size 2, typically used on multi-crew ships or heavy multi-crew ships like the Reclaimer, and they usually have 4 or more faces. So additional changes to shields: the shield generator in the same class temporarily all have the same stats to aid in the initial balancing pass. Shield hardening has been removed completely as it didn't produce interesting gameplay choices, and they will redevelop this at a later point. A lot of time dynamics in the shield regeneration process have been removed to make it easier to predict when the shields will be up again. The regen rate is dictated by the power triangle, and powering off one shield generator will remove the shield properties from the shield system. So probably a lot more shield updates and balancing coming later down the line, but they've just addressed it in a small scale here for the sake of these changes. So let's move on to weapon changes. These, like the ship updates, are going to massively shake up the choices that we make when choosing what loadout to take, depending on the situation at hand. But regardless of these changes and what is said here, CIG did specify that players are of course free to customize their ships however they want to. This is just for the default loadouts. Now the design goals CIG have outlined for weapons are as followed. Weapon loadouts must matter and be meaningful. The player should choose carefully when to employ the weapons. Taping down the fire button should not be a valid combat strategy. Every weapon should have pros and cons. Energy weapon regen rates are dictated by the power triangle, and they are making player controlled turrets more powerful. So CIG's brief for this reads: there are a lot of updates concerning weapons and their new associated capacitors, and how ammo and regeneration distribution works for energy weapons. In 3.14, every ship has a capacitor item that produces ammo for the energy guns, and although this item is not visible now, in the future it will be a swappable item, so adding further to the customization, which will likely carry many trade-offs and further upgrade paths. Now there are 2 variables that come into play with energy weapons. We have regeneration rates and ammo load. Regeneration rate is how fast the ship can replenish the energy ammo, and the ammo load is how much energy ammo the ship can hold at the same time. Both regen and ammo load are distributed across all powered energy weapons on a ship. So if you have 1 energy cannon and 2 energy repeaters, you could for example disable the repeaters, which in turn will distribute the ammo load and regeneration rates completely to the cannon, meaning that 1 cannon can then be able to carry more ammunition and regenerate ammo much quicker as well. So they have also given each weapon category an intended purpose. For energy repeaters sizes 1 to 4, these are dedicated anti-fighter weapons. They should be the most dangerous energy weapons against fighters and have normal regeneration rates and ammo load costs. For energy repeaters sizes 5 and above, these are dedicated anti-large ship weapons. They have relatively high fire rates to keep larger multi-crew ship shields under strain and normal regeneration and ammo load costs. Now, energy cannons sizes 1 to 4 are fighter-carried anti-large ship weapons. They should not be very effective in dogfighting against other fighter classes, and their regeneration and ammo load costs are reduced to make them more efficient than repeaters. For the energy cannon sizes 5 and above, these are again dedicated anti-large ship weapons with very low rates of fire but very high damage. And also again, the regeneration and ammo load costs are reduced to make it more efficient than repeaters. Now, for ballistic weapons, they are to have the same RPM as energy weapons of the same class, except for some specialized weapons. They have higher damage output compared to energy weapons and can penetrate shields better. They have higher ranges compared to energy weapons. Ballistics are very strong alpha strike weapons, not supposed to be a good choice for long duration engagements, and they should feel limited in terms of ammunition, but also feel very powerful when you do employ them. Again, CIG want ballistics to be quite specialized weapons as well. Now, scatterguns, both energy and ballistics, are now specialized short-range weapons. They have a high risk and reward trade-off, and they have a very high damage output that cannot be employed as easily as before. For distortion weapons, those changes will come later as it needs a lot more discussing, as well as the interception mechanics, so no changes to distortion for 3.14. So they say to reflect the intended gameplay changes here, they have adapted a lot of the default loadouts on some ships, and these include defensive ship turrets should now always be equipped with energy repeaters. Offensive ship turrets are supposed to be equipped with either energy repeaters or cannons. No turret has scatterguns due to their limited range. No turret should have ballistics equipped unless it's for a special role like a dropship, for example. Scatterguns should not be default on ships as they are specialized weapons. On all default loadouts, energy weapons should make up at least 50% of all the equipped weaponry, and by default, Fire Group 1 should usually be assigned to energy weapons with Fire Group 2 saved for ballistics. Again, players are free to customize their ships as they want to. This is just for the default loadouts. So CIG stated that these updates to ships coming in 3.14 are not to have combat completely finalized and done, but more to achieve a good foundation for further combat development in subsequent patches. For ship tuning, shields, ship hulls and combat in general, they are actually asking the Evocati multiple questions and to pay particular attention to these following specifics. So for weapons and damage, do weapons feel right or too strong or limited? Is the ammo load for energy weapons high enough? Do ballistic weapons have enough ammo for their purpose? Do ballistic weapons feel limited but powerful? Are cannons less suitable against fighters but good against larger ships? Are there any outliers in terms of damage, RPM and regen costs? And are turrets deadlier than before? For ship tuning, are ships pulling the expected amount of Gs? Does the agility of the ship feel right compared to its intended role? Does the amount and regen rate of boost feel okay? Do you see more varied maneuvering in PvP? And are ship variants similar to each other? For shields and ship hulls, their questions are there ships that have the wrong shield generator mounted? Are there ships which seem too tanky for their class? Or are there ships that seem too flaky? And are there ships that insta-regen shields? And then finally, for combat in general, does it feel better or worse than 3.13? Do you always need to use the same strategy to win? Do you have all the information you need to make meaningful combat decisions? Are there obvious obstacles destroying the fun? And are power triangle assignments too strong? Of course, whatever the answers are to these questions, they will balance accordingly, but these are the balance changes to ships, thrusters, boost, shields, and weapons, and after reading this, I am far more confident that 3.14 will be a much better playing field for combat to properly and thoroughly expand in the direction that CIG and ourselves want it to go in. Having a more defined purpose for all the ships and weapons makes sense, and choosing the right tools for the job at hand is so important to make Star Citizen get that immersive and fun balance. And I, for one, am very excited to get stuck into 3.14 and just test these values out. I am also hoping that for 3.14 onwards, Star Citizen will be in a place where flight combat practice and training is at the point where it's worth investing time into, so the changes aren't going to be too drastic from then on. Of course, the balancing is ongoing over the next few patches to properly dial everything in, but having everything not just closer to its intended role and abilities, but balanced across the board should allow many of the ships and loadouts that have been kind of set aside due to the obvious meta more of a chance to get used. Alpha 3.14 is shaping up to be a pretty impressive patch, so long as ship combat is something that you are interested in, of course, but I personally shall be investing more time into learning and training the best practices for ship combat, and hopefully getting my org involved as well in the same way. But with that said, that is the end of this video. Apologies, it is very long, but there is a lot of information there that might require listening to a few more times just to digest everything. If you do enjoy my content now, please consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, if you want to discuss this and more over on my Twitch channel, it is twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan. We often discuss this kind of stuff. You are all more than welcome. Hit the like button if you don't mind, it really does the channel a big favour, and if you want to be notified when my videos go live, tick that little notification bell. Again, massive thank you to my patrons and channel members, cannot do this without you guys, so thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.